The only limits that we put on ourselves are the stories that we tell ourselves. So I want to spill all of my secrets with you today, with the caveat that this isn't just a quick fix or a surface level solution. So what I mean by that is that it requires you to take a look at yourself. It's a process that brings you deeper than you probably ever imagined before. And it's a lifestyle. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Live Free Lifestyle podcast. I am your host, Leah Brathwaite, and I'm so excited that you are here with me today because we are going to be talking about transformation. And this is such a powerful idea, concept, experience. And the first thing that I want to share with you about this is that transformation doesn't mean that you're missing anything. And I think especially in like personal development, even in manifestation and those kinds of things, spiritual development, we think that we're missing something. And so we need to embark on this transformational journey so that we can get something that's been missing all of this time. But what I want you to know about transformation is that you already have everything that you will ever need to be able to create a life, a love, a business, whatever it is, to be able to create whatever it is that you desire. It just requires you to reorient the things that you already have in a different way. So I love to think of it like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. It's the quintessential example of transformation. You have this wormy little creature that is going about its life in one way. And then it goes into this transformational process, cocooned, maybe sequestered away from the world for a short while. And then it emerges as like this brilliant, beautiful butterfly. It's a completely different version of the same thing, but it was never missing anything. What happens in that process is that it basically liquefies itself. Everything sort of comes undone, and then it orients all of those pieces into an entirely new experience. So that's what I mean. Like, you don't ever need more. You're never missing anything. You already have everything that you need. It's just a matter of reorienting all of those pieces into a new and powerful way. So today I want to share with you my 8 steps for transformation. And this forms the foundation of the Live Free method. So these 8 steps are what took me from a complete rock bottom to rebuilding my life in record time. And it's the process that I continue to use year after year, multiple times throughout the year, in fact, to allow myself to ascend to every next level. There's a quote that says, every next level will require a different version of you. And it doesn't mean that you are lacking in the previous versions. It just means that more of you is meant to be revealed. More of you is meant to be experienced. So you're recombining aspects of yourself so that they are more powerful, so that they elevate your experience. So the reason why I want to share this with you is because this podcast is called the Live Free Lifestyle, and the Live Free method is the foundation of all of it. But this is a process that has helped me to discover my purpose and to alchemize my struggles into strength. It's what helped me to discover true fulfillment and joy. It's connected me to my deepest truth and to the courage to pursue my wildest aspirations. So this is what I want for everyone, because you will hear me say this over and over again, that you were born to live free. You weren't born to let the limitations of fearful patterns or limiting beliefs stop you from experiencing what your soul truly desires, what your heart truly desires. So when you learn that transformation is something that we are here for, we're all here for a continued evolution of our experience of growth over our entire lifetimes, then you realize this is something that you can come back to over and over again. You don't have to be at a rock bottom to want to transform. You can literally just be ready for a next level. You can literally just have bigger goals that you want to achieve, and that will require you to transform to another level. So this process is so helpful, so powerful. It has helped me to achieve and to receive everything that I have in my life currently. And I know that it's what will continue to allow me to expand and experience and express myself fuller. I credit it to helping me find the love of my life and creating more wealth than I ever thought possible. When I started this journey, I really felt like I was capped at a certain income level, or I was capped at a certain experience in my life. But what I've learned is that there really are no limits. The only limits that we put on ourselves are the stories that we tell ourselves. So I want to spill all of my secrets with you today, with the caveat that this isn't just a quick fix or a surface level solution. So what I mean by that is that it requires you to take a look at yourself. It's a process that brings you deeper than you probably ever imagined before. And it's a lifestyle. Like I said, continuous growth and evolution over our lifetime is the point. And so it's not just a one and done thing. These are steps that you can come back to over and over again. But the magic only happens if you implement it, if you live it. That's why it's called a lifestyle. So to follow your soul, to trust your intuition, to let your heart lead and experience the magical adventure of your highest evolution. So there's this famous quote. I think it's from like a Spider-Man movie where I think his uncle is telling him something. I can't remember the context of it, but I remember when I saw that moment and when I heard those words, it resonated with something inside of me. And I was like, oh, this is powerful. And it is this: with great power comes great responsibility. And so once you open yourself up to the power that you have to be the creator of your experience, to basically make a life however you want it to be, to live as your authentic self, then you have the responsibility to actually show up in that power and to show up that way. So before we dive into these 8 steps, I first want to tell you how I developed this methodology, because it's truly unique. I've never seen or heard anything like it, which is why I created it, because it was exactly what I needed. It was a way for me to understand the world, my experiences, and how to make sense of everything that was happening around me and inside of me. So if you listened to episode 1, and if you didn't, then I would recommend you go and have a listen, because I share a little bit of my story in that. So that oh shit moment that changed the entire trajectory of my life, and how just like that 10 seconds of courage and telling the truth instead of pretending everything was fine really opened me up to an entirely new way of life. But I didn't share exactly how that transformed into this new way of life. There was that moment, and then there was the life after. So how I went from disabled, depressed, going through a divorce, feeling just so lost and stuck and like I was completely fucking up my whole life at 30 years old, to thriving and fulfilled and free and building a global brand in less than a year. And it started with Instagram. Probably not what you were thinking or expecting, but truly, like, Instagram back in 2014 was a very different place. I don't know if you remember it back then, the good old days, but it was a whole other experience. And the reason why I say it sort of started with Instagram is because it actually started with that question that my therapist asked me: what do you want? And at first I didn't know, but the more I thought about it, I really just wanted to be happy. Like, it was the simplest thing. I just wanted to be happy. But I didn't even really know like what made me happy. So I decided to start exploring. She said, well, what do you like? And I was like, I don't know really what I like, because I've grown up as a people pleaser. I've grown up in this really restrictive and repressive religious environment, a dysfunctional family environment. And I was really just trying to survive all of it and make everybody happy. So I really didn't know what I liked or what I wanted. But Instagram was very helpful in letting me see what things I was attracted to. So I started noticing, like, who are the people that I'm following? What are the things that I'm clicking on? What is my feed looking like? And I had been following all of these yogis, not really thinking about it, but just feeling drawn to them creating these beautiful expressions with their bodies or the philosophical quotes that I was seeing. So I found myself drawn to yoga. And this is something that I wasn't allowed to practice before. I had been drawn to it in the past. I remember in college for dental hygiene, my back was always so sore. My muscles were always so sore. Just imagine being like hunched over, cleaning teeth for hours and hours and hours on end and learning to like be precise with your instruments. Like, it's hard on your body. And I remember seeing this advertisement for yoga that said something about like feel more fluid in your body. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to try that. But also the religion that I was a part of at the time really frowned upon yoga. It frowned upon a lot of things that bring you into a deeper experience of your own self. And I went to one yoga class and I felt like such a rebel. And then I also felt so incredibly guilty that I never really went back. So that was like back in 2004. Here we are in 2014. I'm interested in yoga again. And I'm living in this place where I'm like, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to explore what I like. I'm going to go for it. So I signed up for a couple of classes, and the very first class, I think the teacher had announced that there was going to be an upcoming teacher training. And I was like, yep, that just feels right. It makes no sense for me to take a teacher training. I've been to like 2 yoga classes in my whole life, but it was something that I felt called to. And so I followed it. So I did my very first teacher training in 2014 and became obsessed and just loved it so much, because what I was learning was that I was experiencing myself in a new way. And I learned this saying, your issues are found in your tissues. And I was experiencing that. I would be holding these yoga poses that seemed simple to everybody else in the class, like a warrior pose. And I would experience so much rage inside, and I couldn't figure it out. Everybody looked like all serene in this class, and here I am like cursing out the teacher in my mind and just having all of this energy in my body, not realizing that our energy is stored in our bodies. Like, we have our issues, which are all of our repressed emotions, energy and motion in our bodies. It doesn't just disappear, it gets stored. And I had stored all of these things, all of these like feelings that I never let myself feel, because I wanted to be the good girl. I wanted to follow the rules. I wanted to make other people happy. All of that was still living in my body. And it made so much sense to me then why I had developed this nerve condition out of seemingly nowhere, because there was so much dis-ease in my system. There was nowhere for that energy to go. So it created these sort of blockages energetically, which created this nerve condition. So here I am in yoga. I'm learning all about energy. I'm learning all about spirituality from a different lens. Like, I had learned a lot about religion, but spirituality was something that I would not have identified myself as. I would have said, oh, I'm very religious because I'm part of this religion. But yoga taught me about spirituality, about our spiritual essence, our connection to all that is, the inner essence of this divine spark of life that is in each and every one of us. That is what I call your soul, the animating experience of our bodies. So I was learning these really profound things about chakras and vibration and frequency and manifestation and crystals and all of that, following just those little breadcrumbs of like, oh, I'm really interested in this, and I'm really interested in this, and I'm really interested in this, allowed me to experience not only myself, but allowed me to identify, oh, what I really like and what makes me happy. And in that pursuit of what was lighting me up, I developed like this passion for energy and crystals and chakras. And from that, I created what became Free Soul Malas. So this was right around the time where my marriage was ending, and I was exploring yoga and like really into it, and feeling like I was caught between two worlds because I had already left my church. I had lost all of my friends, the entire community I had been raised in, because once you leave, you get cut off. So I had no social connections. I had no familial connections anymore because I was getting divorced. And I felt really alone and scared, but also excited at that time in my life. And so I had learned about these prayer beads that were traditionally hand knotted called malas, which allowed you to use a mantra and go through a meditation, counting 108 times, helping you to stay focused, helping you to stay anchored. And I decided I was going to make myself one because it encompassed all of the things that I loved in yoga: the meditation aspect, the energy aspect, cute, fashionable, jewelry, why not? So I created my very first mala for myself as an anchor to hold on to, because I was like, I am in a transformational experience right now, and it is uncomfortable because I'm stripping away these parts and reorienting myself to what's always been there. I'm letting go of a lot of things, but I'm also revealing a lot of things that have been buried inside. And creating that for myself was, I never could have expected what happened after. I started having people come up to me asking me about my cute necklace, not knowing, they'd had no idea what it was, but it was just very different from anything that they'd seen before. Malas back then in the town that I lived in Ottawa, weren't really well known. And so I would share with them like, oh, I made it. And they're like, oh my God, can you make me one? And then I would get their contact information. And then I started making these beautiful devotional necklaces for random people that I had never met before. So I was starting to see the magic of following what lights you up, allowing it to be expressed, and how people respond to that authenticity and to that pure expression of self. So it began with just a few people at a time, and then eventually people who were business owners started to approach me, and they're like, oh my God, these are so beautiful. Could we sell them? And it was really something that was this magical experience of the universe responding to the frequency of authenticity that I was expressing. This idea of being a free soul was how I wanted to live my life. I wanted to live with this openness, with this expression of myself that was really not something I really ever had as an experience before. So things really started to pick up when I went into a Lululemon store once, and one of the managers there was like, oh my God, I love your mala. And I was like, oh my God, you know what a mala is? This is amazing. She was like, yeah, where did you get it? And I was like, I made it actually. And she was like, oh my gosh, do you do this as a business? And I mean, I had made 2 malas for 2 random people at that point. So I was like, yes. I don't know why I said yes, because technically it wasn't really a business, but that felt like the truest thing to say. Like, yes, I want to do more of this. And so we arranged to have a pop-up shop. And that's what really started this incredible journey of creating a global brand. Within 8 months, I was shipping malas all across the world. I had a website. It became like a staple in well-known establishments in my town. And I started to see like just how powerful it can be when we allow ourselves to tell the truth, to follow what lights us up, and to share it with others. So that was one of the first experiences of like a transformational journey of like going into something one way and coming out a completely different version. That was what I would say, like my first sort of quantum leap, not knowing what I was getting myself into, just learning these ideas and kind of fumbling through it. I saw that there was so much power in authenticity, in being myself. So I ran that company for a few years and then started to realize as I was teaching all of these manifestation workshops and these crystal and energy workshops and teaching people about rose quartz for love and like amethyst for enlightenment and addiction and like all of these beautiful things, I started to realize that there was something more. There was something missing again. And so fast forward to 2016, 2017, I started to realize that there was a depth that went beyond just positive thinking and having your chakras aligned. I started to really go into the psychology of transformation, into the psychology of healing, into neuroscience and the subconscious mind, how trauma affects our self-concept, how trauma affects how we express ourselves. And at the same time, I really got into Kundalini yoga, which was another huge up-level and spiritual awakening that really identified some of my higher senses and my intuition and helped me to experience the limitless nature of my soul. So if you've never tried Kundalini yoga, it's so powerful. I love it. And it's something that really opened me up to another experience of myself. At the same time, still following all the things that I was like feeling called to, I was also really getting into spin as well. So here I am like teaching yoga, doing Kundalini, running this like mala business, also becoming a spin instructor and starting to realize that there was like definitely things happening. Everything that I said yes to was sort of like gifting me with a deeper version of myself. So as a spin instructor, like you are up there peddling your heart out. Like it is not just for show. It is like a tough experience. And that like really impacted the way that I used my voice. It helped me to clear my throat chakra and forced me out of my shell in a new way. And all of these things, all of these little breadcrumbs that seemed like they didn't really make sense and like they were like sort of random interests, all of a sudden started to make a lot more sense in 2018, which was a really pivotal year for me. And I started putting all of the pieces together: energy and psychology and subconscious reprogramming and spirituality and self-expression. And I started to notice this pattern emerge that following the breadcrumbs of what lit me up taught me something about myself, and it showed me how the universe responds to me. It wasn't just this concept in the mind of like, oh yeah, the universe has your back. Let me wait for a sign and then I'll make an action. It was really, I go first and the universe responds. The way that I interact with others is how they respond to me. So I had always been more of the wait and see person. Of like, they'll tell me what they want and then I'll do the thing that they want, or I'll get permission and then I'll go. But what I was learning was if I give myself permission, if I allow myself to go first, then that's when I start to receive exactly what I want. So I started to see like this magic happens, these synchronicities get experienced where you just happen to be with the right person at the right time or in the right place at the right time or say the right thing and this person catches it. And then these really magical things that I could never plan or imagine started happening and opportunities were falling out of the sky. It really did feel like my life was magic. I felt so free and so alive and so powerful that I could almost like hardly remember the version of me that was like repressed and depressed and constantly like anxious. And I never wanted to forget that feeling. So I got it tattooed on my rib, live free, just right across my ribs there so that I could remember who I was and what was available to me if I let myself be fully expressed. So 2018 was a wild year. I decided to put my money where my mouth was, essentially. And I put everything that I learned, everything that I had been studying for the past 4 years to the test. And I sold my house and all of my belongings. And I packed up my SUV and I decided to drive across Canada to discover what was truly possible if I let myself be fully free. So it was something that didn't really make sense. Like, I had this thriving business that I had created. Free Soul Malas was doing so well. We were in so many stores. We were literally shipping all over the world. I had a couple of employees as well. And I felt the call to release it, to just let it be free. And it was one of the hardest things because I had built this company out of a place where I had no idea, I had no expectation. I was really just a passion project that turned into something magnificent. But it also felt like there was more that needed to be experienced and there was more that needed to be expressed. And so it was time to let it go. It was time to close it down. And that's something else that I want to say about transformation. It doesn't always make sense to make the moves that your soul is calling you to make. It doesn't always make sense. In fact, it mostly often doesn't make sense to follow your intuition and to allow yourself to be guided from this higher perspective of your soul's perspective versus your logical mind. The thing is, your mind is limited by what it already knows. So it's always going to be limited. It's our biggest limitation. It's also one of our greatest assets. But if we follow the mind solely, if we only follow our minds, we miss out on the power and the miracles that are available to us when we are aligned with our soul and we let that authenticity express itself. So 2018, I'm driving across the country. I'm meeting the most incredible people, having the most incredible adventures, and really testing myself. Because all of those hours alone in my car, just me and me, were confronting. I had to confront parts of myself that I used to just be able to hide by pretending to be whatever people wanted me to be, not from a malicious place, but really just from survival mode. So I got to see some of my own patterns. I really got to examine myself deeply and look back on the transformation that I had experienced over those 4 years, because I was unrecognizable in the best way possible. I was more myself than I had ever been. And the feeling of how good my life felt. It didn't just look good. I was traveling around the world. I was doing all of these really beautiful things, but it felt so good. It felt just like something that I wanted everybody to be able to feel. And I knew that I had to share this with as many people as I could. Yes, I was teaching yoga classes and having an impact in that way. Yes, I was teaching spin classes and having an impact that way, but I knew that there was more people who needed to hear this. And so it really just started with this feeling, this desire for more, this whisper of how do I get this out? So your soul is always whispering to you. It is always guiding you by the things that you're interested in, by the things that you're passionate about, even by the things that trigger you. It's letting you know where you are in your alignment. And it's always trying to wake you up to your true potential, that you are in fact limitless. But these whispers, they come in so many different ways. Sometimes it feels, like I said, like this desire. And sometimes it feels like I'm done, or like an oh shit moment like I had in my kitchen. But it's always speaking to you, guiding you along your path. And so the Live Free method is the culmination of these 8 steps that I saw as a pattern that I kept repeating over and over again, so that you can start to experience all the magic that is in store for you when you are aligned with your soul and following your authentic path. So I want to break down the 8-step process for you, because it's a way for you to make sense of the things that don't really make sense. It's a way for you to come into a deeper alignment with your true self, your soul. And it's a way for you to follow it so that it can lead you to these magical, serendipitous, synchronistic places that your mind, your logic, and your planning will never get you to. So let's break it down. These 8 steps are actually an acronym. So Live Free is an acronym for the methodology. And it was just a fun way for me to be like, okay, how do I remember all of these things to keep coming back to them over and over again? Because I knew it was a repeatable process that I wanted to continue to use over and over again. So the very first step is to listen for the whispers, to listen for the whispers of your soul, to follow the things that feel like they're lighting you up, to notice the things that feel like they're sucking the life out of you, to pay attention to your life. So to become aware of the voice of your soul and how it communicates to you. Now, more often than not, you will often hear the voice of fear more than you will hear the voice of your soul until you change the dial to start listening to the voice of your soul. So learning to listen for the whispers. What is the story that your mind is telling you, but what is the feeling in your body that your soul is offering to you? Because our soul, our true essence, is energy. It's like an energetic frequency. And you can tell when you are in alignment with your soul because it feels like truth. It feels like resonance. It feels like a remembering. Like, you know what it feels like when something feels good and you're just like, I resonate with that, or like, I feel that. That is your truth. Things like joy, things like gratitude, things like abundance, things like generosity, things like compassion. They touch your heart in a way that reminds you that there is a feeling code within you that is letting you know when you are connected to love, when you are connected to truth, when you are connected to your soul. And then there's also the feeling of disconnection or dissonance or fear. And that feels like contraction. That feels like avoidance. That feels like a trigger. That feels uncomfortable. And those are all also whispers letting you know that you are out of alignment with your truth. So differentiating the two and noticing what are the whispers that you are listening for them, and then taking action slowly towards those things. So as I was mentioning in my story, there's always these little breadcrumbs that are being dropped, these little thoughts, these little ideas, your intuition. That's the whispers of your soul. And then the second step is intention. Intention is so key because it truly is the access point for experience. You can't do anything without an intention. And if you are not aware of your intention, or if you are unconscious, then things are just sort of happening around you and you don't really understand what's going on. But when you set an intention, you set a course or a direction for your life. So what do you want out of life? Like, what are you moving towards? Time is always moving. We are always moving. There's always this like forward sort of moving into the next moment and the next moment, which is what we call the future. But where are you going and why are you doing it? So intention is so key because it actually starts to reorient your psychology and your energy to this new point that you're setting for yourself. So when you intend to create something, when you intend to go somewhere, you organize yourself around that intention and then it happens. And it's sort of like a code to the universe. When you set an intention, it starts to open doors that weren't there before. It starts to align you with the right ideas and circumstances that allow you to see that intention come to fruition. So starting to listen for the whispers and then getting a little clearer on like, where do you want to go with this? Where do you want this to take you? Where are you headed? Then the next step is to validate your feelings. Along the way, you are going to have a lot of emotions that move through your body. There will be the ones that we all want to hold on to, like happiness and joy and fulfillment. And then there are going to be the ones that we want to avoid, which are like fear and discomfort and even jealousy. But recognizing that when you validate your feelings, you're using it as a GPS to help you direct towards that intention that you've set. So your intention is like the destination. Your emotions, the energy and motion in your body is like the GPS that is directing you which way to go to continue to listen to the whispers and follow those breadcrumbs. So how you feel about something, the things that light you up, the things that make you contract, validating that experience is so powerful because you get to know how your soul communicates through the energy in your body. And then for the next step, you get to choose what kind of experiences of energy you want to have. And this is where a lot of people, myself included, start to feel a little bit uncomfortable, because when you elevate your standards to match the elevated experience that you want to have, to match the emotions that you want to experience, and to match the intention that you've set, you have to set some boundaries, because not everything will come with you and not everything is meant for you. So learning to differentiate, like, what is yours, what is somebody else's, and what are the boundaries that are required, or what are the standards that you have to set so that you can continue to elevate. Because imagine a butterfly, if it wasn't conscious of the new standard of like flying is how I move through the world, and it wanted to just try to relegate itself back to being a caterpillar crawling on the floor, there's like a mismatch of those standards. There's new boundaries, there's new standards that now are in place because there's a different way of moving through the world. So this is one of the key points in transformation, is that to continue to ascend, you have to hold yourself to a new standard. Otherwise, you're going to fall back to your habit. So growing yourself to meet these new standards is so important, and elevating them over and over again is how you continue to expand and to grow. And then the next step in the Live Free method is to forgive yourself. And this is one that I find most of my high achieving clients have the biggest challenge with, because they're just so hard on themselves. They're like, I should have known better. I should have done that better. Or they beat themselves up so much. And so forgiving yourself for what you didn't know, for what happened in the past, for actions you didn't take or actions you did take. From the soul's perspective, there is only love. And so the idea of beating ourselves up and holding ourselves to guilt or shame about things that happened in the past that we can't actually change, forgiveness becomes a really powerful way of liberating yourself from the past. Not by like just pretending it didn't happen. There is accountability. There is like a lesson to be learned in it. But when you can let yourself forgive yourself, when you can open your heart, that's when you truly become free. And that's when you start to recognize that everything in your life, even though in the moments that it's happening, it might not feel like it, everything in your life is contributing to you and your greater expansion, expression, and experience of purpose. And so the next step is to remember why you started, to look for the lessons, to look for the gold, even if it feels like a shit sandwich. Acknowledging that, remember, we're not bypassing things here. We are validating those feelings, but we're not staying stuck in those feelings. We're remembering that there is a greater purpose at play. There is a greater mission, a greater vision that we are moving towards. So remembering why you started is so powerful, because it allows you to look back, not with regret or not with like wishing things could be different, but to look back and to connect the dots, to glean the powerful lessons that have been shaping you, and to use that towards something really powerful. It's 11:11 as I'm recording this. I have an alarm that goes off at 11:11. So remembering why you started, so important. And then from there, you're able to embody those lessons and start to explore the possibilities. You're starting to allow your intuition to guide you even more powerfully. And every next level, like I said, of your life requires a different version of you, but every next level compounds on the level before. So your intuition gets stronger, your whispers get more clear. You have so much more available to you now as you're exploring these possibilities and imagining and envisioning and creating. And it's such a powerful place to be in right here in the possibility, because you recognize that there's infinite possibilities available to you. And now that you're clear on who you are, what you want, you have your intention, you know how to align your energy, you have boundaries and standards available, you have a purpose, a mission that you're moving towards, then you start to see all of these incredible opportunities and possibilities that are opening up. So exploring those, allowing yourself to play a little more in life is so beautiful. And it just creates the most magical experiences from this place of possibility. When you have a plan and you're like, this is the only way that this can happen, it really limits you to this one logical way that your little mind has thought up, but it completely closes you off to all of the ways that things can happen for you. And then the final step is to embrace the unknown. And this is powerful and challenging all at the same time. Because when we're stepping into somewhere that we've never been, all of our stories get kicked up. We start to experience doubt. We start to experience fear. So it really requires courage to embrace the unknown. And that brings us all the way back to the very first step, listening for the whispers, differentiating between the whispers of your soul and your fear, and really getting clear. So you can see how this is a methodology that allows you to come back to it over and over and over and over again. As you move through these steps, as you move through these experiences, and I mean, you could do one of these in like a day, but if you're doing it over the course of several weeks and you're allowing yourself to embody each of these steps, each of these lessons, it becomes a powerful navigation system for you to tap into more confidence, way more clarity, and so much more courage, because you start to see how much power you have in your life. You're no longer the victim. You are the victorious leader of your own life. And so each one of these steps has a psychological, an energetic, and a spiritual component to it. And we're going to talk more and more about all of these in upcoming episodes. But I wanted to give you the context for transformation, that it's not something that just happens and you hope eventually you'll make your way through it. There is actually a repeatable process that you can use to go through really challenging times in your life, and also to go through chosen opportunities for growth in your life. If you come back to these 8 steps over and over again, you will start to see that you are constantly spiraling your life upwards and outwards. And this is how you live as a free soul in the world. There's this beautiful quote by Charles Bukowski, and it's actually what made me call Free Soul Malas. And it says, "The free soul is rare, but you know it when you see it. Basically, because you feel good, very good, when you are near or with them." So when you are embodying your truest self, when you are deeply connected to your soul, you are living in your authenticity, you are living free, freely expressing yourself, freely experiencing yourself, freely exploring yourself and the world around you, you naturally offer your gifts to the world, and you naturally become a magnetic force in the world, because authenticity is one of the most magnetic frequencies available to us. It feels good to be around people who are fully themselves. No pretense, no pretending, just freely and authentically themselves. And that is the essence of the Live Free lifestyle. It's embodying this way of life of knowing who and what you are, getting really clear on what you desire so that you have a direction to move in, and also understanding what you're here to do. What's the impact that you are here to leave? What is the gift that you are here to share? Because we are all blessed with an individuality and a differentiation that allows us to be unique and valuable in our own way. And when we tap into that authenticity and that uniqueness, that is when we give the greatest contribution we can possibly offer into the world. That's what it means to live free. And there's one more quote. I know I've been giving you guys a lot of quotes today, just feeling really inspired by all of the people who have come before me. But there's this quote by Nina Simone that I just love so much. And she says, "I'll tell you what freedom means to me. No fear." And that's exactly what it's all about. Not being afraid to be yourself, not being afraid to take chances, not being afraid to live. So many people are afraid of life, of living, that they're just surviving. They're not really thriving. And This doesn't mean that you're never going to experience fear again, but the Live Free method and this lifestyle and this way of living does mean that you have something to come back to and help you move through and beyond fear so that you can reach the other side, so you can reach that liberation, more expression, more experience, more expansion on the other side of fear. Because when you know who and what you are, and you realize that you are actually limitless and the only thing holding you back is the stories you're telling yourself, then you literally become unstoppable. And that's what this whole podcast is about. That is what I'm here to share with you through these episodes. So I'm so excited about the episodes that are coming up. We're going to be diving into all of this stuff. We're going to be talking about reprogramming your subconscious mind, tapping into your spiritual self. We're going to be talking about how to actually manifest, not just crystals in your bra. We're going to be talking about creating purpose-filled work. We're going to dive into soulmate love, wealth creation, and so much more. So I want to say thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this journey, a part of this experience, because it is truly the greatest honor to get to share these stories, to get to share these insights with you, and to share some of my upcoming guests with you as well, because we all need a little bit of inspiration. We all need a reminder that it's okay to be free. It's okay to be ourselves fully. It's okay that your path doesn't look the way you thought it would, or the way you think it should, or the way other people are doing it. That truly is what freedom is about. Freedom is like unbridled experience and expression. And so I hope that this episode inspired you. I hope it gave you a little bit more context for what I mean by living free and the Live Free lifestyle. And I hope that you continue to join me in these episodes as we explore deeper what it means to live free. I'm going to share some information in the show notes for you if you want to learn more about the Live Free Lifestyle Experience, which is my 10-week transformational coaching program. It is truly life-changing. It's incredible, and I'm so proud of it. And I know that if you are somebody who is in a transition, at a crossroads, moving towards something that you've never experienced before, or just feeling like, I don't even know like what I want, it will get you on track, and it will help you to discover so much power, so much clarity, and so much confidence in yourself. So I'm going to drop that in the show notes below. I'm also going to drop a link for my book, A New Way of Life, a guide for transformation from living a lie to freeing your soul. It talks all about my journey from leaving religion, from leaving my marriage, from discovering an entirely new way of life. And it also breaks down the Live Free method in detail. There are meditations in there. There are workbook questions that you can go into as well. So if you are a self-study kind of gal or guy, that's a perfect guide for you to go through. And I'm just so happy to be here and to continue sharing this with you. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.